Morning, everyone. I'd like to call this special meeting of council to order. I'm going to start off with roll call. When I call your district number, could you please respond with your name? District 1.
Prout.
District 2.
McDonald.
District 3.
Wayne Fowler.
District 4.
McNeil.
District 5.
Gregory Hemming.
District 6.
Alex Morrison.
District 7 is myself, Timothy Havinsky. District 8.
Michael Gunn.
District 9.
Wendy Sheridan,
District 10.
Martha Roberts,
And District 11.
Diana Dunn.
All right, thank you very much, folks. You've had an agenda circulated with 2 items, but I believe that Carolyn has 2 additional items for our agenda.
Please. I would like to request that 2 items be added to the agenda. First one being advertising costs for inviting applications for citizen member appointments and Hillside Drive water.
Okay. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Moved by Councillor Hemming and seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks very much. I believe that we're going to start off with the geotechnical report from Basin View. Steve.
Yeah, we're just asking council to approve the budget to begin the geotechnical investigation at Basin View, which was reviewed during the Basin View workshop we had a couple of days ago. So we're requesting a budget of $20,000 to be taken from the recreation reserve. And what we would do is we would likely just go out for quotes from qualified geotech firms, separate drilling rig with a geotechnical investigation, and we proceed on this as soon as the budget is approved.
Okay. Do you have wording for the motion for it, Steve?
The motion is in the RFT.
It's in the RFD that was circulated.
That's right. Deputy Warden. Whoop.
Okay. A council approved $20,000 project budgeted to be funded from Recreation Cultural Reserve for the geotechnical investigation of the soils surrounding the Basin View Center, particularly the soils located under the northwest corner, which has been identified as an area of concern.
Seconded by Councillor Morrison. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Councillor Gunn, then Councillor Hemming, then the Deputy Warden, then Councillor Sheridan. Councillor Gunn.
Thank you. So how are they going to do this investigation? With drilling, soundings,
So
geotech
they'll be doing it with
off or what?
they'll be doing it with drilling rigs and pulling cores and analyzing just what's happening on the underground.
They're going to drill holes in underneath.
Right. Well, or adjacent to the footing to
We've
see
lost
what's
it.
happening with the,
Okay. Councillor Hemming.
Steve, do you have any idea what the turnaround would be by the time the RFPs?
I'm sure. I'm thanking you very much for your explanation, Stephen, but I didn't hear any of what you said.
Oh, Stephen.
let me try that again.
Go right ahead, Stephen.
Okay. They'll likely bring in a drilling rig, set it up adjacent to the building, drill some cores, and analyze the cores and make some recommendations in terms of what they see, if there's been any stratification or erosion of the material supporting the footing. So that's our main concern, is that underneath the footing, we've had some erosion that's affecting the structure.
Was that clearer for you, Councillor Gunn?
No, I just got on but I did get the last part of it, Steve, the last 5 words. And I'm sorry about that, but you know, this is technology. It's a wonderful way to get by nowadays. But what I'm understanding, Steve, is that they're going to do some drilling underneath. I can speculate, I think, on this. They're going to do some drilling underneath, find out how many voids, if there's any there. Is that the idea?
Correct.
Yeah, they're going to do some drilling, take some core samples the best they can. Hopefully there's something to make a core. Okay, got it. So that is the biggest answer, was they're going to drill, not, you know, do echo soundings or something.
No, they'll be drilling.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Henning. You were asking about turnaround time.
Yes, Steve, what's your best guess on what the turnaround would be and when that report might come back to council so we can make a decision? Is that a month, 2 months? What's that process? I know it's a guess.
Minimum a month. I think by the time we likely go out for quotes instead of a tender, because we can get a faster turnaround, get them on site, get the drilling completed. I don't think actually the drilling will take all that long. They do it fairly quickly, but it's the analysis that will take some time and some recommendations. So I can't see it any sooner than a month.
Great. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Deputy Warden?
So while this study is being done, so we can see if what the issues are and if the building is stable, are we going to continue with the other projects that were passed in the capital budget, or are we going to put a halt to things until we know that the building is stable?
Stephen?
That's a council direction, and we have the money set aside for some ongoing HVAC. I mean, the building is occupied and being used. So between the HVAC and working on the HVAC, we require that restraining system that's to go around the outside of the building. So I don't see delaying those, because as the building is occupied, we still need access, safe access to those rooftop units.
Councillor Sherry?
Yeah, that was similar to my question, because I didn't want to put more money into it until we knew for sure what was going to be taking place. Is there anything we can put on hold? I realize that the roof is important, and in case they have to do work up there for those connectors to be placed there, but is there any, I just don't want to.
Well, we're working with the ground penetrating radar people. They did complete their study. They're not picking up in a whole lot of voids. So we've sent them, just as background, we've sent them the videoing that we did earlier. They're going to give us an interpretation of that. But I don't think there's, I haven't got the list in front of me, I apologize. But if there's items that we can defer, I'll review it with John and we will defer them. But as I said, as long as the building is occupied and we need to maintain the air handling systems and whatnot, I think those two projects have to proceed.
So do you know how much water actually leaked from the pool over those 3 years? Like that would have gone possibly under the footing or anything like that? Any idea of how many gallons of water?
Oh, thousands.
Wow.
It's, yeah, we were, I mean, we were even on a controlled basis when we could keep up with the amount of leaking and the treatment that were required to keep the pool safe. It was still thousands of gallons, but it got to the point where we couldn't add enough chemical to keep up with the leaking, and that's why we've gone this direction.
Sounds like it could be quite a serious issue, and I'm concerned. I mean, we are dealing with taxpayers' money, and I just don't want to put more money into that until we know what's going on. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. John, I think you wanted to interject as well.
One particular major project probably won't start until next spring anyway, because of the late season and nothing has been procured at this time. So I think it's likely we'll start next spring, one of the major projects. So I think we'd have time to make a decision. Ultimately, as Stephen said, when you have a major facility like that where it's being used, your effort is always to keep it open. And we are finding challenges as a result of the pool, keeping that facility open. And so we're moving in a direction. The public will be interested in knowing what we're doing in order to solve the problem. So it's important that they understand that we take the matter very seriously, and we're moving forward to find out what the issue is, and eventually come back here and to make a decision on what the solution will be.
Okay. Any further discussion, folks?
Yeah,
What? And then Councillor McNeil afterwards. Deputy Warden. Martha? Sorry, go ahead.
So, well, and I kind of on the same page as Councillor Sheridan. I mean, to me, I know that we have the buildings there and we need to keep it up to date, I guess, for the people that are in there right now. But the future projects that we have agreed in our last capital budget to do, I feel that should be put on hold until we get these tests back and the document back on whether the building is worth putting more money into, or what we have to decide as a council on what we're going to do. I mean, I just don't want to put money after bad, and I would like to know the answers to the study that is before us right now before that decision would be made to put more money into it when we don't know the answer to whether it's stable or not. And my other question is I don't quite understand why this project is coming out of recreation and culture. Why can't it come out of gas tax money?
If I may, the gas tax reserve is stretched to the limit, and we have some ongoing issues that will likely come back to council with the final cost from the tendered prices for the J-class roads. So just in some email discussions and voice-to-voice discussions with John, it's pretty well taxed. We have the ability within the recreation reserve to tap into that fund. It does qualify, and so that's the one I'm recommending, but it's at council's discretion.
Oh no, and I understand that it does qualify, but we've always taken studies out of a different pot of money, and I don't feel that recreation and culture fund is the pot of money it should be taken out of. And if we're that tight in the gas tax, then maybe we should be deciding in our third quarter review.
All right. Councilman McNeil.
Yeah, Steve, what is totally wrong with that building, the undermining? Is it just the pool leaking? Is there anything else? Or is it just where the
Could be.
leak?
Our suspicion is that it's somehow the either the filling system or the drainage system for the pool has been compromised, and it's could be affecting the geotechnical support for the actual footings for the building. So this will either give us some answers, make it a little more clear, but I would anticipate it's not going to be, as they say, the magic bullet. It'll be one more piece of the puzzle. Working on the recommendation from the firm that did the overall assessment, their recommendation was to proceed with that one first, in case there is a very serious item that can be addressed right away. But until we do the actual drilling, like I say, it's one more piece of the puzzle, and hopefully we find some good answers.
And it's more than the leaking of the pool, isn't it? Isn't it also the issue that there aren't any rain gutter or downspout systems on the roofs?
Correct.
So everything
and I see that as, that's correct. And if I may, I see that as kind of an ongoing, kind of chronic issue. But we still have a significant problem identifying where the leak is. Even if we put the downspouts on and go with that, we're still losing water out of the pool. So it's really two separate items. One's chronic and one is more immediate.
Thank you.
The pool is empty now, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Councilor LeBlanc?
Thank you. I was looking at it in the same way that if we don't find out what's wrong right now, it's just, it would be eventually, or could be now, a safety issue. but most of it is under the pool, and we know how much water has been leaking. So I think that's the main concern. Maybe we should have a motion that says before we do anything else, we need to have the report, the analysis of our geotechnical survey before we do anything else. That's an opportunity for us to just kind of hold on for a while and see how it works out, so we can get all of what is needed. And do we do this or do we do that?
Thank you, Councillor LeBlanc. I believe that Steve was indicating there's at least a couple of areas of work that really should proceed. The HVAC is there because there's people currently occupying the building.
Yes.
Tenants. And then the safety tie-off points on the roof to make it safe to actually physically be working in some of those spaces. Is there anything else that's planned over the next 4 weeks to be implemented at the facility, Stephen?
I'm just reviewing the capital budget, and what we have put in place is the roof guarding and harness anchors, shower repairs, which are completed, HVAC repairs, which are ongoing, unfortunately. And the only other one was, I'm just working down the list here, is this particular.
You can't announce the program yet because it's under a contribution agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to mention that one, John, is the building engineering, which we did complete in the presentation. And then this is the only new one. So really, it's really the as is. We haven't even got the downspouts and gutters budgeted yet until we get this moving forward in terms of a better idea of what's happening overall.
So conducting this study really is the only primary activity to be taking place in terms of our capital budget there over the next few weeks.
Yeah, that and we'll probably get started. We need to look at that harnessing equipment. I think that's going to take a while, but we still need to maintain those rooftop units, and we need to follow the labor code.
Okay, so the safety, the ongoing HVAC stuff, but no other major initiatives are being put underway over the next few weeks. So I think that probably addresses the concerns of those councillors who didn't want a lot more being done until we had this information in hand. We have to address the safety issue, but it sounds as though that we'll have this information in hand before we're at the point of stepping off in any further major work there.
Yeah, I believe so.
Councillor Gunn?
Thank you. With the HVAC, I mean, if there's not a pool there afterwards and that end of the building, if it's all undermined under that pool and that ends up coming off or something, you won't need as big an HVAC system as what you currently have in that building. So, yeah, the HVAC system yet may always need some additional work. But if, I understand what Martha and Wendy are saying, if the pool's not there, you're not going to have to do all that very expensive HVAC work. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there any further discussion, these folks? So we have the motion before us. Carolyn, could you refresh our memories of the motion, please?
It was moved by Deputy Warden Roberts, seconded by Councillor Morrison, that Municipal Council approve a $20,000 project budget to be funded from the Recreation and Culture Reserve for the geotechnical investigation of the soils surrounding the Basin View Center, particularly the soils located around the northwest corner, which has been identified as an area of concern.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, one opposed, motion's carried. Thanks very much. Let's go on to our next. The next is the Gordonston contract. I'll ask if maybe John would say a few general words just about what this is and open to, so that folks understand what what the contract is. Council's had an opportunity to review this both in camera and also individually over the course of the last week. Go ahead, John.
So this is really captured in the letter of intent that was signed, I think in March of 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And that outlined how these contracts would be laid out. So this contract is an agreement directly with the EA Farron Limited, and as it relates to the build of our portion of a facility that will be on municipal land. So a portion of Upper Clements Park will remain in the county's name, that what we build on, that's our security for what we build. It's on our property. It also lays out the responsibility of Mr. Farren to pay all interest. And then there's also another agreement that's being worked on, and that is the leasing arrangement on the building that will be built on municipal land at Upper Clements Park. And basically, we're going to be giving indefeasible rights of use to that facility for the Gordonston campus. And as part of our investment into the process, it also lays out that in the lease agreement, Gordonston, Nova Scotia, EA Farren Limited are responsible for the principal. Well, we're responsible for the principal and interest payments, but in the lease agreement, Mr. Farren and Gordonston, Nova Scotia are agreeing that they will make the same payment as what the municipality would pay on the principal and interest payments. That would be the lease fee associated with the indefeasible rights of use to use the property. So that's captured in this agreement, but there's also a separate lease agreement that we'll be working on, and we'll be bringing it to council, but this is all in line with the letter of intent.
Thank you, John. Carolyn, you said you had some language for our motion. Would you mind?
I do. That municipal council authorizes the warden and clerk to sign the short form agreement for supply of work, goods, or materials as signed by EA Farren Limited, St. John, New Brunswick, on July 23rd, 2020.
Moved by Councillor Fowler, seconded for the motion. Seconded by Councillor McNeil. Discussion of the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay, recorded.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Gunn, you're muted. Did you want that recorded as well? You just give me a nod if you do.
Yes, please. Thank you.
So both the Deputy Warden and Councillor Gunn would like those votes recorded. Motion's carried. Thank you very much. All right, so next we have the advertising for committees. And I'll looking for Wanda. I think she's speaking to this.
Hello.
There.
So as part of our process for seeking citizen members for our advisory committees, we put out an advertisement usually in September to fill those vacancies. Current citizen members, they expire on November the 30th this year. And so I've sought pricing from the Chronicle Herald because we no longer have a local weekly paper. And I did receive pricing back from the Chronicle Herald, considerably much more expensive than we've had in the past, ranging from, for a half page, and this is a huge ad because it lists all of our advisory committees and gives an explanation about what those committees do and how many citizen members we require to populate those committees. So a half page ad, full color, before taxes is $3,132.50. Black and white is $2,506. If we went with a 1/3 page full color, it's $2,229. Black and white is $1,799. And that is only for one day. In the past, we had advertised in the local paper for 2 back-to-back weeks, one day in each of the back-to-back weeks. And that ran us anywhere from about $500 to $700 at the most, with taxes in.
Wanda, we have we've got a number of different statutory processes that require public announcements to be posted in the local paper. So this won't affect just this, but this will have a cost impact on a number of the things that the municipality does. And it's not nothing. I think it adds up in a significant way over the course of a calendar year to have your costs multiplied by a factor of 6 roughly for your ads. It's difficult for a municipality our size. That I would have to think that for a municipality the size of Annapolis Royal, it's almost a devastating blow. That could be a significant chunk of their annual budget suddenly allocated to these requirements. As I think about this, it occurs to me that this is a place where, because of COVID, the structure of how municipalities function in the province has been forced to change because all of our local papers have folded. But the MGA stipulates that these ads have to go out in your local, regularly published paper. This might be a point at which NSFM should lobby the province on behalf of municipalities for a change to the MGA to enable some other mechanism for advertising that wouldn't be quite so financially burdensome for municipalities. So what we're going to have to make a decision ourselves right now, but I'm thinking that probably we should be initiating a conversation about this with the province. Deputy Warden?
So is there any other alternative that we could get the information out?
Wanda?
In the past, as well as being in our local paper, we have placed an advertisement in the Bridgetown Reader, as well as the paper that was out of the Upper Clements Community Hall. The Upper Clements publication is no longer available. So as per our usual practice, I had reached out to Mr. Falls of the Bridgetown Reader, and he is going to get back to me with some pricing for that. Also, while this is not a paper, we may be able to reach constituents by doing the Canada Post door-to-door advertisement or flyer, so to speak. I've already created an outline for that, if that is how council chooses to go. The last time we did that was a letter sent out by the warden, and it was about $1,700, and that was taxes in.
So that's that a conversation is just about this topic with the province would make sense. When it becomes less expensive for a municipality to send a piece of correspondence to every household in the municipality than it is to actually advertise as the MGA requires, we'd probably like to have our hands untied on that.
But does the MGA require us to publish our committee stuff in the paper?
Our policy that we just passed said that we would advertise in a local paper. I am not that familiar with the MGA. I am not sure that is part of the MGA. I did search it a little bit yesterday, but I'm not that familiar. Our policy does say that.
Thank you. I'm going to Councillor Morrison, then Councillor Sheridan, and then Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. I'd just like to point out that the Bridgetown Reader goes no farther west than the town of Annapolis Royal. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sheridan? Go ahead, Councillor Sheridan.
I'm having issues again.
Oh, no. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, because it's going around in circles, so I wasn't sure. So how soon does the ads have to be out?
The ad goes out in the early part of September.
The early part of September. So most likely we wouldn't have time to contact NSFM in order to get some assistance in that time frame.
We wouldn't be able to have it changed instantly, but we don't know how long the state will persist for the provinces to be reduced to one publication. So we're going to have to make a decision about this regardless, but I think that we also should be talking to the province.
So regardless, we have to do something because of the MGA? Like what it states in the MGA?
If I may interject, I think probably the MGA would be silent on a notice that we're putting out. It's not for a meeting, nor is it for a committee of the whole meeting or a committee meeting. So you don't have to typically meet the requirements of public notice in that regard. In this particular instance, I think that our policy said we always tried to be as far-reaching as we could to notify the citizens, and we would sometimes advertise in 2 or 3 different papers. But the cost is significant, and the mail-outs are roughly $1,600, $1,700. That's direct mail to everybody's home, and it's cheaper than doing a one-day advertisement. So we're just looking at the cost perspective. We think we can still reach our citizens with the communication, and it might even do better. We're just not sure. And if that's the case, we would have to change our policy, but then we would be able to proceed.
So John, I thought there was an actual statutory requirement.
I don't know if there's a statutory requirement on that type of correspondence. I'm just not sure. I've never read it on that type of correspondence. I've read it on notices for meetings.
The public hearing, yeah.
In public hearings, but this is not a notice for meeting. It's just information if somebody wants to apply to become a citizen member.
Okay, fair enough.
Exactly. And I did have a cursory look yesterday, and I could not find anything in the MGA when I searched it with various keywords.
Okay.
So council should also know that this information will be on our website, will be on our Facebook page, and councilors will also get a memo that outlines the committees that are available to all residents and committees that are available only in their district. Sent that out in 2018, and various councilors found it very helpful, and I know certain of them shared it amongst their mail-out lists, and I'll be providing that again.
Okay, good. Councillor McDonald?
Hi. Thank you, Mr. Warden. The changing policy, I was advised a few months ago that policy is easily changed, even sometimes ignored. So I don't think us voting on changing our policy is going to be that big a deal. I'm against a one shot in the Halifax newspaper to advertise this. What are the odds of us having a quarterly mail out and calling it the Annapolis County News and make it our own newspaper, if indeed there is something in the MGA that says it requires to be in a newspaper? Poof, we create a newspaper, and it's sent out every 3 months with all our needs and wishes and updates at one time. I'm all for a motion on changing our policy if it says indeed we need to use the one and only paper available in the province of Nova Scotia. I don't want to spend that kind of money on that. I'd rather we do personal mail-outs.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald, and I certainly agree. As long as this is a decision that council has discretion over, I'd far rather send an individual mail out to every household at less than half the cost than pay for a one-shot ad that, you know, where the circulation of the Herald isn't that enormous in Annapolis County to begin with. So I'd rather ensure that everybody receives it if we possibly can.
We can also give extra copies if councilors want to put them in a community hall or a corner store that they're used to dealing with, or if they just want to hand them out, we can do that as well. We can do that no matter what direction we go in, just to assist with the communication.
So what do you need us to do here today? Do we need to make a motion saying we want to change our policy?
Yeah, how the 7-day policies work. I'm not sure if Don's on the line here today, but I think there's 2 provinces that have policies that have a little bit of teeth. Nova Scotia, and I forget the other province, but the 7-day policy is designed that you have to give notice on the amendment, 7 days. And it's for council to reflect on the policy that they're making on how they approach their decisions. So it's really a council 7-day period. And so that you can't just change it. You just can't go in and say, okay, let's change the policy today and move on. You got to give 7 days notice again. And that's where the extra teeth is, because it gives the councilors an opportunity for a 7-day reflection on their policy, on how they make a decision.
So if indeed we made that at our next council meeting, right? We have another week to ponder this, and then we follow up with the in September. We would have time before the mail out needs to go out. Correct?
The other thing that we have, and Wanda's probably going to say this, is that she's got to get it out.
Wanda?
I was just reviewing the policy that council approved in July. And the provisions, it says the municipality of the County of Annapolis will advertise all vacancies prior to the expiration date of the term of appointment by posting on the county's website and social media, as well as through other media as deemed appropriate by municipal council. So I think you're still okay.
Yeah, if it doesn't say, if
need
it
to
doesn't
change anything.
Yeah, if it doesn't say that,
My biggest issue was that the nominating committee, and we haven't had an opportunity to meet, this work all unfolds. And I would be taking it to a meeting with the nominating committee at the beginning of September if things were moving the way they usually did. But the nominating committee does not have the power to expend any funds. And this was a huge amount of money. And this was the only paper that was available to us. So if council wished to have that advertisement, then I would have needed a motion to allow that to happen.
So right now we don't need to amend the policy, and you don't need a motion, because all you really need is sort of direction and some nodding heads around the room that we approve spending that money on a mail out as opposed to on one day.
A motion wouldn't hurt.
Right.
All right.
I'll make that motion.
Could I ask for a motion in that case from council to direct that our nominating announcement be sent out by direct mail and through social media this year. Moved by the Deputy Warden and seconded by Councillor Hemming.
What's the mover? Sorry, I wasn't looking.
And then Councillor Hemming seconded.
Thank you.
Discussion? Councillor McDonald?
If possible, could we have any other appropriate updates we feel are necessary to vote on the back of that? Let's say an internet update or whatever we want.
if there's room within the brochure, sure, we can look at that.
If there's room.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Gunn?
Thank you. So I'm looking at the Elections Act here, and it doesn't say anything about posting in the newspaper or anything. Is that something that was handled by county policy or what?
This is a nomination for committees as opposed to the election.
Oh, this is not nomination for committees.
For citizen appointments to committees.
Oh, okay. Sorry, folks.
No worries. Councillor LeBlanc?
I'm all in favor of that because Chronicle Herald is not our local paper, no matter how you look at it.
Okay.
My problem is going to be still the same thing I'm going to complain about.
All right.
Do not get delivered. And the last letter that was sent out was not delivered. And it's been a month since it's been sent out. So there's the problem.
So we need to know when things are not arriving, the department who has sent it out needs to know that it's not being received, because that department will have to follow up with Canada Post every time.
So if you as councillors
If you can give us a list of the streets that you're aware of, Diane, we'll follow up.
You might as well say it's the whole district.
No one in the district got anything?
Pretty much. I didn't get a thing. So usually they get it down here, but nothing's gone to the top of the mountain, and it's to the point that it's infuriating that we pay for this, but they're not delivered.
So if we provided extra copies, Diane, and we could get them to you, that if folks wanted them, you could hang them out on your door, similarly to what Carolyn does. Would that be helpful? You know, we're using every tool in our tool belt, and
yeah, and I totally agree. However, the point of the matter is still the same.
Yeah.
If we pay for it, then they should deliver. Period.
Right.
Yes.
That's right.
There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. Maybe it's a day late. That's a different story, or 2 days, or what. But to this day, I've not received the letter that was supposed to be in the mail of 4 weeks ago. I think it's 4 weeks now. So that's one thing. And it just keeps going. So they might as well just come to me and I go to every mailbox and put them in myself, or every house. That's how bad it is.
Councillor, I've got Councillors Prout and Morrison. Councillor Prout. Have I missed anybody else who wanted to be on that list? Councillor Prout.
Thank you. I'm just going to provide a little backup for Councillor LeBlanc. Since last we met, I had the occasion to speak with 2 constituents in Vermont, and both of them mentioned they had questions over the transfer station and so on. And my first thing I said was, did you by any chance receive that handout that came out? No, we didn't. One of my friends did. Well, the issue can be very complicated. One of the ladies gets her mail from the post office in Middleton. Ergo, wouldn't show up. There wouldn't be any reason for her to have received that. I've stated before, our mail comes to the post office in Kingston. I never get anything from the county unless it's personally addressed to me at that address. But the other lady from Wilmot had no idea what I was talking about, and she just had questions. So I spoke with her over the phone. I printed off a copy of it and took it down to her residence and went over it with her as we stood socially distanced. It's a very complicated issue up in District 11 and in District 1. It's not anybody's fault necessarily. It's just complicated with where people get their mail and how it comes. And as Diane says, that we both have multiple instances where lots of our constituents aren't receiving this, which is unfortunate.
Thank you, Councillor Prout. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. I'd like to set out the difficulties in District 6. And the postal address of a person apparently is up to the person. I have people living 10 kilometers from Annapolis Royal who receive their address is a post office box in Annapolis Royal. But not all the people on the street on which this person is has done that. It's also confused now by the fact that we're not supposed to use post office box, we're supposed to use civic addresses. But for particular people on particular streets, no matter the civic address, my understanding is it goes through the Annapolis Royal Post Office. And I have various areas of my district who never, ever receive anything. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Wanda.
I don't know what to say.
Other
than, you know, if this goes out on social media, if counselors are contacted, if counselors want to let their constituents know that this is upcoming, that would be helpful. If somebody wants to send me a constituent's email address, I have this in a format that I will certainly be able to send it out to them via email, or I can hand write an envelope and send it to them. You know, we do the best we can. And I certainly understand, and I don't know why Canada Post operates the way they do.
It's not your fault, Wanda.
Yeah, it's nobody's fault at the county. I don't mean to imply that.
Oh, no, I just trying to be helpful.
I think it's really clear that this issue of how we communicate effectively to our constituents is not going to go away, because there isn't going to be a silver bullet that'll solve the whole thing. What we had in place in previous years for this process was imperfect, because it relied to a certain extent on newspapers that not everybody subscribes to. What we're putting in place this year will rely heavily upon our mail out, which of course we know is imperfect, because we've of course anecdotally just heard from several councillors who have consistent problems with people in their districts receiving mail outs from the municipality. We'll fill in around the edges as best we can with social media, with individual councillors, and councillors can place forms in areas of high visibility like post offices and community message boards. It's not going to be perfect, but of course, but I think that the comment that was made earlier, and I forget who it was who said, it was John, I think, who said, listen, if you're aware of streets where people aren't receiving it, the most helpful thing that you can do is to immediately let the department that sent the correspondence out know, because then they can take immediate steps to try to address those lacks right then. And we'll also eventually develop sort of a list of the places that are problem spots that we can, that'll let us spot check in the future. So if you do have spots like those in your communities where you know people aren't receiving things, and there's a pattern to it that might be helpful, please do report it to the department that's involved, because that could be a helpful thing for the municipality.
Can I make a statement? It should be always considered when it comes to my district that up on the mountain, a lot of them do not receive it at any time.
Right.
Just saying.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So that's, we did have a motion that's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Next issue is, so the next issue is Hillside Water. John.
So the council may recall that Annapolis Royal had submitted to the ICIP program a couple of years ago now to create a new water infrastructure for Hillside Drive and Alden Hubley. Hillside Drive agreed. Well, let me just explain. 2 days before the application was due, Annapolis Royal said that they didn't want to be the lead on the project, basically wanted to step away. They asked the county. We took the project on within a 2-day period. Within that process, we had to get the landowners to sign agreements, and that's all been done. And we had mentioned that we were going to the Nova Scotia Utility Review Board with this process. And from our understanding, the Council of Annapolis Royal was not aware. I spoke to the CAO and the finance director at Annapolis Royal yesterday, and they said council wasn't aware. We thought they were because of the correspondence. So anyway, it basically said that the wheeling rate that they wanted us to sign an agreement on was for $5,000. But our rate study projected the wheeling rate using 2018-19 numbers out of Annapolis Royal to be around, I think around $375. In speaking with the CAO and finance director with Annapolis Royal yesterday, they were saying that their cost of service is more than that. They've had major changes in the last couple of years, including new union contracts and a variety of things. And they feel that their cost of service is $1,000. So they were putting in $5,000 as they were looking to see if they could recoup the customers that they would now lose, because Hillside will now become a part of Annapolis County's water utility. But in speaking with the director, she said they'll let that go. If we look after it, we'll build it and look after it for the residents. So the wheeling rate that they're suggesting is $1,000. I would suggest that it's a very good compromise. Each homeowner would have had to have paid an additional $500 a year. Now this is an additional $100 a year. It's more palatable. And if it goes to the UARB, it's probably going to come close to that amount anyway. So if we can agree upon it, it still has to go to the UARB to be approved. I just received the letter today. They said they'd get to me before 4:30, and they did. And basically they're agreeing to the $1,000, and they've actually proposed that in a letter to the UARB today. We just received it about 20 minutes ago. So my recommendation is for council to agree with the $1,000 wheeling rate through Annapolis Royal, and we can start to get this project moving.
I'll ask for someone to make that motion in that case to open this for discussion. Someone like to make the motion that Annapolis County accept the $1,000 wheel rate. Moved by Councillor Hemming and seconded by Councillor McNeil. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Hold on.
Oh, there's Councillor Gunn.
I'm just holding on here. It's what, because I didn't want to be the first, but I also don't want to be the last. Yeah, from 6,000 to 5,000, you know, 6 to 5 and now 1,000. I think Annapolis just wants something out of it. You know, they're losing those customers and think that they had a lot to gain, whereas they could supply the service to begin with. And I do actually.
We misinterpreted it. It was always 5. It was not 6. We misinterpreted here on that point. And
is that I read a letter from them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I did too, but apparently it was meant to be 5.
Okay, well then they shouldn't have wrote 6. Anyway, yeah, it's down to $1,000. They get something that'll make them happy.
All right. Further discussion? Councillor Prout.
I agree with Councillor Gunn. I think it's a good compromise. We can move on and get it started.
All right. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. That concludes our agenda for this special meeting. Could I ask for a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Sheridan. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much.